As coronavirus spreads, private sector offers hope and treatment is up on LarryElder.com. Please welcome back to the program, Sally Pipes. Sally, how you feeling?
Well, I'm feeling fine, but I'm kind of I'm bored and I'm tired of being sort of sheltered in. I want to get back to work.
Well, I was going to ask you that next. How do you feel? How do you feel the president is handling this? Do you feel that this shutdown, both nationwide and particularly here in California, were necessary?
No, well, I personally don't, because I think the mainstream liberal media, people unlike you, Larry, have really put the American people, driven them into panic mode. And I don't think, when you look at the number of cases in the U.S., the media keeps saying there are more cases now in the U.S. than in Italy or in China or whatever, 93,000. We have a population of, as you know, 330 million.
Right.
People need to look at the percentages, not just the number of cases. And I think the president is doing a good job, and I think the private sector in America has really jumped up to the front line and is really making some great strides to help us get over this, unlike in countries that are run by government and have totally government-run healthcare systems, like in Italy, a single payer, like in Canada, where I'm from, single payer, no private health coverage. The UK, the National Health Service, covers 90% of Brits. And so we are in the best place to deal with this and to develop the best tests, the masks, the vaccines, and the antivirals.
Sally Pipe, it turns out that much of the media and many of the politicians were relying on a study that was done by Imperial College, and the lead epidemiologist has now revised dramatically down the estimate of the number of people who are going to contract it and the number of people who are going to die. He thought that about 500,000 people in the UK would die. Now he says 20,000. He thought about 2 million people in this country would die, and now he's saying, well, it's going to be more like 85,000.
Well, exactly. And so I'm glad that this Professor Ferguson at Imperial College has sort of come up with new numbers, because if you look, Larry, at the number of people around the world who have the flu and the number of people who have died, very, very high numbers, 80,000 people to date have died from influenza in America. And so, we're going crazy over coronavirus, but the flu has killed many more people and does each year.
You talk in your article about how the private sector is stepping up. Talk to us about that.
Well, of course, like you, I'm a great fan of individual freedom, personal responsibility, and the market. So, while the FDA, the Food and Drug Administration, and the government were very slow, the federal government was less than stellar in getting, early test kits from the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. They were flawed and unusable. The World Health Organization, our regulators, refused to use those. But now, we are seeing quickly firms like Massachusetts biotech firm Moderna. They identified a trial compound within 42 days, the fastest ever, and they've launched the clinical trials last week. We have other firms, Inovio, Sanofi, the French company, GlaxoSmithKline, a British company, all who do their research, by the way, in America. They're all working hard on potential vaccines, not in other countries with single-payer systems, but here in America. We've got Amazon stepping up to the plate, offering home testing to Seattle residents. And it's interesting, the FDA hasn't approved any of the home testing kits, but I think it's so important that these home testing kits be developed and be allowed, because if you're testing at home, you don't have to go out into a public place where there could be a lot of people with COVID-19. And so we want to have, it's much better to have testing being done at home. So we've got Google doing things. We've got the automakers now working on developing ventilators. This is American vitality, and why the market is so very important and not a takeover. Government bureaucracies have been putting a brake on innovation, and it's the market economy, Larry, that is producing the test kits, the masks, the new drugs, etc.
Sally Pipes is my guest. He's president and CEO of the Pacific Research Institute. Speaking of government, Andrew Cuomo is admitting that just as President Trump tweeted, he had stockpiles of unused ventilators, didn't know they were there. And then the SEI union here in California, Sally, suddenly found a mysterious stash of 39 million face masks after complaining they couldn't find any.
Well, exactly. I think
39 million.
So, I mean, imagine. I mean, the SEIU is working so hard to unionize so many healthcare workers in this country. They're working against the private market and the things that people like you and I want to do. We want the healthcare system to be competitive. We can do so much more if we get rid of all these mandates and regulations and allow the market to function as it should.
The article is called As Coronavirus Spreads, Private Sector Offers Hope and Treatment. It's up on LarryElder.com. It is by my guest, Sally Pipes. Sally, as always, thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate it.
Okay, well, let's hope it ends soon. Thanks, Larry.
Let's hope so.